Hey, Tom Albani, GreaterPitching.com. Hey, I wanted to use this video because I thought it would be very helpful for you guys to see in more detail and more specifics about some of the components of delivery that are very key to producing more ball speed and velocity. Hip to shoulder separation is probably the biggest component or aspect of the pitching delivery. Without hip to shoulder separation, you are not going to be an elite pitcher. Unless you are a very big guy who can produce a lot of force from the legs and transfer that energy up, you may be able to get away with it. But the majority of the players today we see on video are excellent at getting hip to shoulder separation. It is really the key to the explosive, rotational, and linear movement of the trunk forward. So what is it? How can you get it? And how are the coaches today, the big guys, the smart coaches today, the guys who work with the D1 players and the semi-pros and the pros, what are they doing? How can they be so specific about how they evaluate hip to shoulder separation? Well, first of all, they're very good at using high-speed video cameras with 100 frames per second. They can see and they can measure the timing of the hips to shoulder separation and how long the hips take, how long the shoulders take, how much time each part of that motion takes out to delivery. So what is it? Basically what it is the hips are going to move out, they're going to explode open violently, they're going to be out here, and the arm and the shoulder are going to be back, not throwing yet. So you're going to be able to see the chest and the logo. You should be if you're getting the good hip to shoulder separation. So basically, if we take the pitching delivery and we break it down into two parts, you have the lower part doing the stride phase, and then you have the upper part doing the throwing phase. So how do coaches really evaluate this? Because the timing of the hip to shoulder separation is critical. What they do is, with the high-speed video, they're able to trace frame by frame, inches by inches, how fast and how far the body is moving. So they will start their motion because they just want to figure out what the hip to shoulder separation is. So they'll start it at the point of the front knee bracing up. So the lower body is out of the equation. They just want to know how much of the hips are moving this way and how much shoulders are moving this way. What is the time difference? What is the percentage of the movement of both parts? Well, they've discovered that the high velocity pitcher, as soon as they land that front leg and the rotation now really accelerates and peaks right here, that's where the separation starts. That's where it really begins. And they've discovered that it happens within the first 25, maybe 30% of the entire throwing phase. So remember, the throwing phase is just from here to here. They're saying that the elite pitcher can get the hips open so quickly within 25% that it leaves such a greater margin for the rest of the body, the trunk and the shoulders, to rotate. And really what it boils down to is, if it's 25% hips, it's more of like a 60 to 65% shoulder rotation. And that's the big weight here of the body that's going to deliver the arm at a high speed. So that's really what you want. In the low velocity pitcher, the hips are so much slower, and they're actually moving along with the shoulders. So there's very, very little hip to shoulder separation, which means that they don't really clear the hips until they're about ready to throw the ball. It's the opposite with the high velocity pitcher. They've cleared the hips quickly, and they've gotten that very quick, explosive hip to shoulder separation here. Okay? So if you want to measure hip to shoulder separation, you have to think of it as you're viewing it from the top, and you're getting like a bird's eye view or a sky cam view. And really what you want to do is, if you're a right-hander, measure the line from the left hip to the right hip as it's opened here, and measure the line from left shoulder to right shoulder. It's the opposite, obviously, if you're a lefty. And where those points intersect is the amount of degrees. The professional athlete is getting about 40 to 60 degrees of shoulder separation. Okay, the amateur guy is getting somewhere between 10, 15, if that. Many kids that I see have no shoulder separation at all. The shoulder comes along with the hip, so there's no holding back here, there's no torque, there's no tension, there's no torsion. That's really what you want to build. So the hips are going to explode quickly. How do you get the hips to explode quickly? The back leg drive, just before you land the foot, has to be violent. It has to be explosive, dynamic. You got to kick that ankle, extend the knee, extend the hip flexor, get into landing quickly, and brace up as soon as you hit the ground. And those hips will fly open. Okay, some guys are taught to hold back here, keep the elbow up, kind of delay all this up here. If you can do that as well, that will help you out. Okay? So I hope that helps you out. Remember, it's a bird's eye view, so looking from the top, draw the line through the hips, draw the line through the shoulder. Where they connect, where they intersect is that angle in there. That should help you out, okay? So take a look at your video. Practice. This is not an easy thing to get. If you can get this and you get a good degrees of separation, you're going to be a hard thrower. All right, catch you next time.